Welcome to chapter 15, The Perfect Time. Someone once told me years ago how they absolutely loved that I reinvented myself every couple of years. And this comment really took me by surprise because what I do in my life is the 1 degree shift. So anytime something feels off or feels funky or it's just not working right anymore, I ask myself, okay, where am I at? Where do I want to go? How do I want to feel? And I make these tiny little 1 degree shifts. And so, of course, to an outsider, it's going to appear as though I'm reinventing myself and changing things up here and there. Now, this person that made this comment really doesn't see me on a daily basis, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And so when you think about popping 1 kernel of popcorn, and you think about doing 1 kernel of popcorn every single day, well, over 6 months' time, you're going to have a big ass bowl of popcorn, right? Yes. And so that's what it's like when people are not observing these tiny 1 degree shifts. Even though you're making them, all of a sudden it may appear as though now you're in a completely different space, which is so exciting. But I have to say that a lot of people really don't make or take these actions because they're waiting for the perfect time. Now, another reason why people don't take actions is because they have fear. They have fear surrounding what may or may not happen. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of the unknown. They're afraid of actually how to do something and what could go wrong. So if you think about Thomas Edison, and I'm sure we've all heard this scenario and this situation, is that he tried 10,000 times to create the incandescent light bulb. And a reporter one time asked him, how did it feel to fail 10,000 times? And he's like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. It only took me 10,000 steps or 10,000 tries to make it work. So think about that. I mean, most of us, we can't even count how many times we've failed or how many mistakes that we've made. We've just been like, oh, now I know what not to do, And it's so easy to get caught up in that fear. And I remember one day, this was shortly after my oldest son hit 18. And so now he's like, I'm an adult. Yay, I should figure things out or I should know what the hell to do. And he's standing there and he's looking at me and I'm like, what's with the look? And he goes, adults don't know what the hell they're doing, do they? And I'm like, nope, we're just winging it. And I said, yeah, sometimes we've been there, done that, so we kind of know what to expect. But if we've never done something before, we just try. We try something. Sometimes we Google it. Sometimes we ask someone who's kind of been there, done that, I should say. And so they offer us help, but really we just wing it and we hope for the best. And he was blown away by my response because he really thought that this magical thing happened when you turned 18, that you would just have your shit together and know exactly what to do. And so I want to ask you, how would your life look like? Like, what would it appear on the outside and what would it feel like on the inside for you if you knew that everybody else was winging it as well? How would that feel for you? And think about those things that you want to do and think about those people that are in your life who have already done what you want to do. What would it feel like if you asked for their guidance and they gave it to you? This is the power of mentorship. When you figure out that everybody else is just winging it as well and that people fail every day, and you ask yourself, who do I know in my life who has been there, done that? What you can do then is reach out to them and ask them, hey, this is what I want to do. What's your advice? What's your guidance? If you don't have anybody in your life, you can reach out to a coach, a mentor, a trusted advisor. But this way, you don't have to deal with it on your own. And you don't have to sit there and fear that failure. Because that person that you're going to ask, chances are they tried and they failed, and they tried again and they failed, and they tried again and they failed. And so when you're about to make a change in your life, one of the things that I like to do with my clients is I like to ask them the best case, worst case scenario. So I'm like, okay, what is the worst thing that could happen if you were to do this or not do this? And they're like, oh, okay, so this is what is like the worst thing that could happen. Then I'm like, okay, perfect. What's the best thing that could happen? And then we look at the best thing that could happen. And then they're like, oh my gosh, well, of course, this would happen, and then this, and then this, and they get all excited. And I'm like, okay, perfect. So what happens when we look at the best case, worst case scenario is we start to prep ourselves energetically and mentally and emotionally for the gamut of things that could possibly happen. Now, the cool part about this is that you not only gain clarity in your thoughts because you're prepping yourself, but you also start to recognize the source of your fear and the source of that angst. Okay, so fear of failure is ingrained into our brain. That's part of those synapses that we were talking about in the habits chapters. And so again, we try to avoid pain. We try to avoid failure. We try to avoid those things that don't give us the results that we really want to get. But when you look at the best case, the worst case scenario, again, you're taking that emotional charge out of it, and you're really giving yourself permission to prepare for what's to come. And when you feel prepared, then usually you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I could totally do this. Yes. So when you feel excited about doing something, you're like, yeah, let's do this. What do? Okay, you typically have that desire, you have that thought, you have that goal, and then if you don't know how to do it, again, you could try to wing it, or what most of us tend to do is we Google it, we read a book, we listen to a podcast, and all these other things. Well, sadly, this is where most people stop. They have all the information, but then they don't take action. And that is where the rubber meets the road. That is when and where you actually receive the life that you're excited about, and you receive those things in life that you really, truly want. Now, Mel Robbins says, she says, your life comes down to your decisions, and when you change your decisions, you will change everything. Now, you might be one decision away from changing your marriage, or from improving your environment at work, or from changing your addiction, or shifting in a completely different space. You're one decision away. That's it. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to reflect on the conditions that you are waiting for, basically for them to be perfect. Are you waiting to get out of debt before you take that vacation? Are you waiting before you lose 20 pounds, before you actually buy that swimsuit that you want to wear and don when you go to the beach or to your pool or even to your backyard? What are you waiting for? I want you to really reflect on that. Because I'm here to tell you that the perfect time is never going to come. The perfect time is when you decide that you want to take action. Time is the only thing that we can't get back. That is our most precious commodity. And so when you reflect on these things, like, what am I waiting to do? And if the perfect time was right now, what's the one thing that I would shift? What's the one thing that I would focus on right now? So once you have written down that one thing, what I want you to do is head on over to the next chapter. And remember, it only takes a small 1-degree shift to make magic happen and to create a life you're excited about.